Oh my goodness, so there's a lot to catch up on since last week. I'm trying to remember what it is we was working on. When you've been away for a bit, sometimes you need that time to refresh. So we're probably going to have a bit of a chatty catch up stream today, because there's definitely bits to talk about. Let me get... I had to... Streamlabs OBS was a little... That's fine. I thought that was a bug, but it's not. Streamlabs OBS was being a little bit of a pain today as well. And my Twitch bot was disconnected. And I forgot my password on it, so that took ages to set up again. But it's working. Everybody should be getting their raindrops just fine. And I'm trying to get Chrome to show up as well on Streamlabs, and it's not. For some... Oh, it's because Photoshop's in the way. Silly Billy. There we go. What happened? Nothing that's a big deal, just techie stuff. Just, as always, techie stuff. Talking about techie things. See, I was convinced... Remember when I said I was ill and I posted this notice last week? I was convinced I was ill because I'd been working too hard, because I had been. That previous night, I was going all out. I had almost an all-nighter because I was doing something, which I'm going to talk about in a bit. But it turned out it was just a bug, because my mum had the same thing. And like, she felt nauseous and like horrible, sicky and all that kind of thing. So it I mean, might have been a bit of both, but oh my goodness. Okay, so it's crazy. You know how we have a custom hero creator in our game, and I've been like rambling on about how amazing it is, and we had a bug. I didn't talk about the bug too much last stream though, but there was like a weird bug where the graphic would flicker every time the custom hero would update. Well, I was trying to fix that, and I stayed up way too long. I spent hours upon hours on different forums trying to solve the issue, and went on Stack Overflow, RPG Maker forums. No luck. But I've completely redone the custom hero thing. I'm not even using the same one anymore. I'm using a different one. Where's RPG Maker? So I'm using Sprite now for the custom hero. It works very much in a similar way how it layers, like nothing's changed. Except we don't have the silly graphical flicker anymore. I'm just lucky that it exists, the Sprite. I think it was Matic Ilak actually mentioned in chat, oh well, would Sprite work as a custom hero creator? And I was like, yeah, actually it could. But yeah, it's a bit more confusing, the setup is. That's for sure. It took a few days to kind of get working and updated, but I think in the long run it's the better bet. I mean, of course we're not going to get the silly graphical flicker, so that's important. And wait, wasn't this thing you didn't want to work with the last time we were together? Yeah, I'm not using Sprite the way with how it's meant to be used with the bones or anything like that, because that doesn't really work for pixel art. But I'm using it just as a way to get layered heroes. It's very, very confusing to explain. I can't even get my head around how it works myself, in all honesty, because I'm not really a techie person, but it works. Basically, there's a folder in the project folder, and you just put all the assets, PNG files, layered up, the clothes, the hair, all the parts in separate layers, and you just code it, script it to all layer and work together. It's kind of similar to how the last one worked, but a bit different. but it's pretty similar. But I'm not using Sprite as an actual piece of software or anything like that. I'm simply just using it as a tool to get the characters to layer, because you need the Sprite files to make it work. It's very confusing, but the main thing is it's working. I don't have to announce that it's all messed up and it's not working. It's all fine. Really, there's not really much difference to the old one, so that it doesn't change around or mess about the project too much. It was just extra work trying to just replacing it and doing it this new way instead. I think one good thing about this one over the other one is that the plugin creator is still an active member in the community, whereas the previous custom hero layer plugin was abandoned and hadn't been updated since 2017 or something. So it was always a little bit more risky going with the previous one, and although it worked fine, it was clearly a little bit glitchy because of the lack of recent updates. And if worse come to worse, then I would have just messaged that creator and paid him some sort of cash to update for me, but I didn't really want to do that because I tried to be careful with what I spent for this project. You gotta. And I went for this version instead because I think I had a thought about it, and I was like, this one seems like the better way forward. And it's all working fine. I've updated the custom hero to have, what have we done now? I've added the Lucky Charm section to the custom hero creator now. So one thing I did want to do is do a little asset where it sort of peeks out the pocket for a split second. So that's one thing to do. But other than that, the custom hero is 100% done now. The weapon, we got wooden axe and wooden bow now, and we got new starter gear as well for the custom hero, which we did last stream. And let's just have a quick peek at that. Hunter gear for the female feminine body, masculine body, and that's the warrior gear. So whether this stays like that, who knows? I might alter it a bit over time because it's not too hard to update if I did change the asset, but it works for now. And they look a bit boring and plain, that's the point, because it's starter gear. And luckily with this system we can have lots of different changeable outfits over time. And it'll, for example, if you buy an updated piece of gear in the shop, we can do a new asset and our character will visually update to reflect that they're wearing new clothes or have a new weapon, which is very difficult to pull off in an engine like RPG Maker, because by default it doesn't have a layered visual sort of equipment system or anything like that. But the way that this works, it allows us to do that, so huzzah, we can continue with that. And can we see what's this plugin called? Yeah, I think I'll send you the plugin code, because as you as an RPG developer yourself will certainly want to know this one. So let me find the link. Where is it? Sprite plugin. So I mean, I've had my eye on this little plugin for a while because I was going to use it for animations originally. It looks pretty next level, like how it promises to create smooth animations and things. In the end, I decided to not use it for animations because it's pretty complex and you've got to attach a sprite to like bones and things, and it doesn't really work with pixel art in my opinion. Although you can make it work with pixel art, it kind of changes the look of it a bit. But it turned out it worked really well for this part here. Changing hair of character and things like that, so I'm using it for that purpose more than using it for the bones animation side of things. So there we go. Let's send you that. There you go, Coda, or anyone else who wants to have a look. Feel free to tell Vagabond about that as well, because I know he mentioned he was very keen on a layered character plugin, and I did send him the link to the old one I was using. But he might want to know about this one, considering this is more updated. And let's catch up with chat, because I am not answering you guys. And hi Dave, how you doing? Rose has been elite. I know, I had no I'm going to admit it, this was one of the more challenging experiences I've faced in the development, because I had my heart set on the previous custom hero, and you know, it was 95% there. It was working absolutely fine for a plugin that had been abandoned, but that graphical glitch to me was something I couldn't accept. It wouldn't have made the game look it would have looked very messy, and although the little flicker only happened now and again, and it was during specific times, and I could have avoided showing it or hid it in some way, I'm sure I could have, it was just a hassle. And considering this existed, I was like, oh, just why not go for it? Why not just see how this works instead? So I did stay up like that, not try to get everything updated, and my theory was that was why I was ill, but now I just had a bug. And do you have plans for evening post stream aside from dinner? Probably a mix of chilling and sitting at my desk again as always. I'm not watching any true crime stuff tonight though, Rod, because I'll probably scare me too much. I get more scared by like real life stuff than anything that's fictional, in all honesty. Real life scary. Try a summary. And so basically this will help replace custom hero stuff and is updated. Yeah, so I mean, it's nothing to like really, although I'm like, oh my gosh, things have been changed, all in all nothing really has changed, because what's working like in the back end is the same as what you've seen anyway beforehand. It's still a layered hero creator, just the same as the other one. Although the setup chat was a little bit different, it all works the same in the long run. There's a couple of things to bring up though, a couple of changes between the two custom hero creators, which I'm going to mention in a sec as well. But in my opinion, it's all good. And let's just catch up with chat first. And amazing, thanks so much. We've been wanting to use something like that. Yes, perfect. Yay, well, good luck, Coda, and let me know how that works for you and how you get on with it, because I definitely found the setup of it to be quite got to get your head around it a bit, that's for sure. It's no easy thing, but it's well worth it when in the end, in the long run. My goodness, it's cold. Okay, so I was saying there was one difference, wasn't I, between this and the old one, and this was what held me back originally from making the switch, because the old one had something that the new one doesn't have. But now I've thought about it, I'm kind of absolutely fine with this change. And I don't know what you guys are gonna think, but trust me, it's a difficult one, and it's a change to the project because of it, but one that I think will benefit the project. So anyone who's keen on this, take this in mind as I say it. This only updates map sprites, not face sets. Just so you know, it only works with the characters on the map. Whereas the old one did update faces as well. So, yes. I was thinking about it, and then I was like, you know what? We don't even need face sets in Raindrop Chronicles, and that's like a huge thing to say, because we've got some really cool ones, but I've been thinking about face sets, and they're gonna go. We're not gonna have them. And by face sets, I mean the little graphical squares of the characters that we have to accompany the dialogue. What do you mean? Do you know what I'm talking about? Because face sets are kind of the term that they give them. And okay, so some of you might not be convinced why this is the right move, but I'm all really glad that we're not going to have them anymore. Although this was originally difficult for me to accept, I almost didn't go with this because of face sets. But okay, so let's make a list. I liked those, yeah. I did too, but now I despise them. It's funny because this is an alpha project right now, so there's going to be changes a lot from now until release. And I'm going to make some bullet points. No more Facebook, I was going to put face sets. So we're going to completely just focus on map sprites now for the game. There's a lot to get down here. There's absolutely so much to talk about because because I mean, if I was attached to face sets, it's either this or the custom hero, and no way am I going to sacrifice the custom hero just for the sake of face sets. That would only hold us back. And there's plenty of other reasons. There's about 10 things to say about how I feel about face sets right now. Now, okay. I've got to think how to get all this down because there's a lot to talk about. So, okay. Now, the number one thing why I was attached to face sets, there was one ultimate reason, and it was the barrel family. I adore that they're custom and they look cute, right? I wasn't overly attached to the other face sets though of the rest of the characters, such as the hero or any of mainly because they're not unique. They're just the default RPG Maker generator ones. This project is now a commercial project, and I'm not even kidding. The game, it doesn't come across good to be using the default generator assets, and it's not really a good thing to do, I suppose. I mean, that's questionable. Some people might disagree with me and be like, no, it's fine to use the generator assets for a commercial project, and we were gonna do it. But I don't feel like I'm comfortable with it, in all honesty, anymore. And yeah, basically that's it. So that's one. A lot of RPG Maker games has those faces, so I'm not even making sense with what I'm saying. Was gonna make the face for my true. So if it's custom or commissioned or you're unique, that's great, because then it's not just every other the same as every asset out there. But this, considering the budget I've got and the scope of this project and the hundreds of NPCs we're gonna have over time, it would be way too expensive to have every single one of those a custom asset. I'd break the bank. I'd have no money. I'd probably spend more money on the game than I'd get sales. So you got to just be smart about it, right? So that's a key one. Every RPG Maker game has that 5 faces, and I'm going to do everything in my power to make this not generic. And it's a process, because this game was originally just a non-commercial, fun, silly, generic game. when I first came up with the idea. It was just a fun community project. I had no intention of it being commercial or anything I took seriously, but gradually, the more I did this, my heart changed. I started to really care about the project and what could be done with it. So it's gonna over time transform into something that's hopefully not generic, over time, and it's definitely not like every single other RPG Maker game out there. So I'm trying to separate as much as possible from anything that's going to make someone look at the game and be like, those are those faces from the generator. Yeah, it's that again, another one of those games. And it's totally understandable to use face sets if there is like a purpose for them though, but we actually don't even have one. They're used simply for the sake of showing who's speaking, right? That's really their purpose when used in dialogue boxes. But we have a thing in place where it pops up above the character's head who's speaking anyway, so it's redundant. Now, I'm talking about getting rid of face sets, but let me just say here that I'm not against having a custom portrait commissioned long term of the playable characters in the menu. Just so you know, Van. There's like someone like Asharu or Rose or any of those characters that are party members. We will see them when we go through the menus and we like equip them with gear and that. A very common thing in RPGs is to see like a detailed portrait right in the menu of playable characters. We could, as time goes on, it might not be like that in the first few alpha builds that we have, because the menu's probably going to look pretty basic in the first few builds, but over time as we work more on the UI and get it looking more sleek, we'll probably have a unique sort of UI menu. That's kind of what I'd love to do. And there could be something like that in the menu. But as for the face set maps, they're only distracting, and it's very hard work for a solo developer to keep up with all them assets. I was nearly giving myself I don't want to say breakdown, that's a bit over the top, but as we was doing the starter gear, the new warrior and hunter outfits, that meant I had to get a face set that had that hunter and warrior outfit on as well, and it's too far out my artistic ability to do outfits like that on the face sets because they're so much more detailed. And it's not a team here, it's just me who can't, I'm no character artist, so it's a weight off my shoulders not to have to think about doing clothing and that for that as well, and thinking about what the face has to look like for every single outfit we have. And it can be quite limiting as well of creativity to have to be like, oh well, I don't have the artistic ability to draw that outfit on the face set, so let's just not have it in the first place. The sprites are far more minimal in that regard, and it's easier to kind of to pull off something. Make the characters more personal than the sprites that seem so far away. True, the sprites are definitely more minimal. To me, that's a plus because it's more in my comfort zone. And I do agree to some extent the face sets can be an asset to a project, but not if they're not custom. Like if they're just going to be the RPG Maker generator ones, it's actually, in my opinion, a what's the word? Deterrent. Actually weakens the project because it's a generic look that exists in thousands of other RPG Maker engine projects. Everybody uses those generator assets. then they would be more limited. Use phase sets for special scenes only. I think I'm trying to see it as now is a time to be more ambitious about the map sprites, and leaving phase sets behind will mean making the map sprites more ambitious and stretching them further in terms of how we can make them stand out, rather than try and make up for it by having portraits and not be confident of how map sprites can be stretched. For example, To the Moon and Lisa, two of the most successful RPG Maker projects of all time, if not they don't even have face sets. They just have very simple map sprites. To the Moon was one of the most emotional games ever, but yeah, it still ended up, it didn't need the portraits to make it an amazing story or experience. It was just the writing that worked for it. I think it can be it can be misunderstood that people think busts and face portraits equals more emotion and more attachment and immersion, and I think that's, although I can see why people would come to that conclusion, I think it's flawed and not necessarily true, because there's plenty of minimalistic RPG 2D games, Undertale, To the Moon, Lisa, there's a few that excel with their use of sprites and what the other things that they do to make the game unique and stand out. I went with large portrait busts in the end, but that's only because I have exactly Coda. So it's very when you have a smaller cast, you want to just make all the cast look as cool as possible, right? So you can just easily get some commissioned. But the scope of this project, like I'm thinking long term, we're going to have hundreds of NPCs. It's overwhelming, guys. A face asset, a map sprite, and the battler sprite, the ones that were battler sprites. God, I'm glad they're dropped as well now, the battler sprites, because that was even more assets to think about. It's overwhelming, like when you think of all the different assets you can have, especially when I've been as ambitious as I have and I'm having a layered custom hero. It's asset after asset, and yeah, I just go with my heart on what I'll feel is the right move, and it's not like I have a choice anyway, because the sprite system of doing the layered hero means that the hero can't have a face asset anyway that's updatable. So I'm like of the opinion of just it's more hassle than necessary. Good call. My game really came alive once I went that route personally. Once my game started, I doing more of a bust up. Yeah. So I mean, I can totally see why people love the busts and the face portraits, and why you'd be attached to them, and if it's custom, it's especially awesome. But I'm kind of like, it's less is more, and it's better not having at all than having generic ones, if you don't have the budget for custom, in like the situation I'm in, and with a large cast. And it's like you have to make sacrifices as well. I can't be getting super ambitious and thinking, oh, we'll have this custom hero, we'll have this feature, and then instead of like making it easier, I'm just piling more and more work on me, and then the scope of the project becomes impossible. So naturally, if you want to be ambitious in some ways, you've got to sacrifice in other ways as well. So it's we don't have the battler sprites either, so that means there's only map sprites to think about, and it's just a relief. What other notes have I got? So, oh yeah, more aesthetically consistent as well. Can't spell though. Is that even how you spell aesthetically? The face sets in the RPG Maker aren't even pixel art. They could, I suppose they could be, because if you look close enough, they're sort of pixel art. But to me, they look more like normal art. And I'm trying to make this more consistent as we go on. In the beginning, this project was all over the place aesthetically. We had vector battler sprites that we used originally, which were great. They looked wonderful. But since dropping that battler system, we won't be having those ones anymore, which is probably better because they kind of really clashed with the visual look anyway. And so that's good too. Also, the map sprites, we recently updated them from short chibi to tall, so the fact we're starting to get more detailed with the map sprites more as well is more of a reason to why it's not too bad to move. I'd be more reluctant to get rid of the face sets if we had tiny little map sprites with no detail, but you can do a lot with these map sprites. Especially now we've gone touring, that we can be more detailed elsewhere. So, more animations, more expressions. I've also been considering other screen resolutions too, because you gotta. How the game would look on laptops, and the way it was before the face sets were getting cut off. So it's easy. It's going to be a little bit easier to consider space now they're not hogging up a lot of the screen. And it makes you pay more attention to the scene as well when there's not a face getting in the way. Hi Divide Ribs, how you doing? It's so good to see you. It looks like some big changes underway. Something you're redesigning art. It means I'm removing assets from the project Divide Dreams. So it's like the less is more approach I'm seeing it as, because RPG Maker by default has a ton of assets. It has your face sets, it has your character map assets, and it has your battle sprite assets, and it's an awful lot of assets. And it's great because you're given those assets. A lot of them are already there for you, but it can be bad if you want your project to be taken seriously and for it to be commercial, because people are judgy. They'll be like, your game will get a reputation if you overuse certain pre-made assets. And although I have a mind of my own, and I'm definitely not one to follow the crowd or get like too pleasy of all people, I'm far from that kind of person, and I think you can't be that kind of person. But at the same time, you gotta at least think about things like this, and you can't be blind, because it can affect your project in the long run and how it's viewed. So face sets are going because they're not, in my opinion, gonna enhance the project. In fact, they're gonna hold it back and keep it more generic. And although I probably wouldn't have gone for this originally, over time we're putting more focus into the map sprites since we've made them taller and bigger and more detailed, so it can work. Sadly true, I've done everything I can to my game not to look like a typical RM game, yeah, and it's like we're in alpha at the moment, we're in pre-alpha, so there's going to be, the only time Raindrop Chronicles is going to be 100% this is final is when the actual episode 1 is officially out, because when episode 2 comes out and 3 and 4, etc., I'll of course want them to look consistent then and the same. I'm not going to want to visually change them up between episodes, but between now and that release, until it's like a real build that isn't in alpha anymore, anything could change if I feel it's best for the project. And you have to trust me, folks. It's it can be difficult, like when doing a community project, because some people get very attached to what we do in here and might see the project in a certain way that could differ to how I see it. I've had to unfortunately let people go because of it in the past. There was an issue late last year, autumn time last year, when I'd have like very long, lengthy emails sent to me from one person, and it was all complaints as well about how things were going, and they were like, I liked it like this and I liked it like that, and you should put it to that and that, and why did you change that, and why are you doing it that way now, it shouldn't be like that now. And I was just like, this has to stop, because if it's like this before there's even a first playable build out, it's going to just get too much. If that's the sort of way the project is run, where it's not going to work, it just wouldn't work, I would give up, because it wouldn't be any fun for me anymore, because I don't have control of my own creative vision. If people are running it for me, it might as well work for someone else, right? Because that's what you'd do at any other random job. The whole point of this project is to have my own creative freedom. So I had to let that person go, because it wasn't working, sadly. And that's what she's talking about. Just smile and wave. Are they like faces that appear during text boxes? Indeed. So it's the things that assist, that go with the dialogue boxes while a character's talking. Some RPGs use them, a lot don't. We think of like the classics, Chrono Trigger. Others, they don't actually use face sets, although they do have the character face in the menu. They don't use them within the dialogue, and yet those games are incredible emotional stories that make me feel more than games that do use face sets. So I think it can be a flawed way of thinking if people think it's more emotional or immersive with the face sets. It's all about the writing, folks. Rose, one of my main reasons for enjoying this project is the epic scope and apparent dedication demonstrated by you, comboed with an amazingly wonderful community. Yeah. And this is no easy feat, like, for one person. I'm not arrogant enough to think I can do it all. So if I feel like something has to be dropped because it's going to be a weight off my shoulders, I'm gonna do it. Of course I am. If I feel it'll work, if it's going to make the project better and not worse. And this is Rose's game. She takes suggestions, not our game. Exactly, Dave. And when I was a bit nervous of announcing this face set thing, because I thought, some people probably have got attached to these. Some people in the community even started doing their own face sets for the game, and I'm like, oh God, please don't commission anything or do anything, especially before it's set in stone, because it can always get dropped. And I'm realising that the more time's going on, that things can get changed and turned around. And it's naive of me to think that the look of the game, how it is at the start, would be the same as how it is when it's officially released. I'm intimidated by all these game dev teams, so I'll counter with music terms. Yeah. Trying to put your own spin. Yeah, Codapill, exactly. We're too attached, Rose. How could you? Yeah, I was working on. Yeah, I know you were, Van. So that's something that you don't have to do anymore. And a Sharu Sprite, it can be focused on instead. And some people think, the sprites, you can't do much of them because they're just tiny graphic and you can't have any expression on it. Of course you can. Of course you can have expressions on them. We've got a whole Sprite sheet. Did I say it? Swear a word then. We've got a whole Sprite sheet of about 50 different expressions for the little map sprites. That's an example of it. You can get like that. But just Google games like To the Moon and Lisa and Undertale, Chrono Trigger. Look, all the 2D games I'm inspired by, and I'm looking at as inspiration here. And I don't mean to this is just my opinion, but over time I've started to really detest the face sets. Some people might love them, and if you do, that's absolutely fair enough. It's a subjective thing, but they're seeming a bit generic to me the more I look at them. Okay, what else is there to say? Okay, folks, so I'm going to talk about something else as well. Oh God, there's so much to talk about. I'm probably not even going to get it all out today. Look, enjoy the lurk, Coda. Okay. So, I was watching scene 1 as I was doing it when I wasn't ill, when I wasn't poorly. And I was thinking, if we no longer have faces, how can we make it stand out? Well, not so much how can we make it stand out, but how can we ensure that the scene doesn't fall flat and has got enough life in it to keep us interested in the story and the characters. So one thing I thought of, and this again is just an extension of the map sprites, is to this can go on this bullet point actually. Have we zoomed in enough on this? A talking mouth animation when the character speaks on the map sprite. Now, if we still had face sets, this would have been something we couldn't have really done because it wasn't possible to make the face set animate. It's just static. Although we could have made the map sprite static and not the face, there would have been a visual inconsistency there that might have bothered me a bit. But I'm trying to think of an example I can show. It's not too hard to pull off though, because I was looking at some tutorials of how something like this can be pulled off. How to add animated talking. Yeah, this is a video I was looking at for this, and it's actually RPG Maker 2. So this person is just showing how they do that, and there's a sort of hacky way to do that, but I'm sure there's multiple ways to pull it off. I'm trying to see if there's the example here, because that's what I'm interested in. If you can see in the corner, their mouth is just simply moving. It's just a black hole that talks. Because right now the map sprites don't have a mouth that moves or anything like that, so that would be something. Hi Visual Studio, my goodness, thank you so much for that raid. I was talking and rambling on to myself and not even noticing. Oh my goodness, how are you doing, folks? Hi Aztec, hi Ancient Coda, hi Ducasoft, hi Don, hi C Sharp, hi Nerd Herder, hi Serba, hi Jefferson, hi Quacksage, and hi Azriel. Thank you so much for that command, Azriel. Thank you for the follows, everybody. I hope I didn't miss anyone's names out. Welcome to streaming. I appreciate that raid visual. Let's give a shout out. Alright, how did the stream go? Tell us guys what you was up to. As for what we're doing here, this is a catch-up stream. I've been off a week because I had a poorly sick bug. And I've been doing a lot of mulling and thinking over the time I've been poorly, as you do. Well, I do anyway. When I'm poorly, I have too much time to think because I'm not doing my work. So we're having a catch-up announcement kind of stream where we've got a project update. Because what we're working on here is an RPG, everybody, made in RPG Maker. That we've been doing for over a year now. It's evolved and it's very differently to how it was in the beginning. It was just a fun, non-commercial, goofy bit of fun in the early days. It wasn't anything serious. I didn't even consider myself a game developer. It was just a laugh, in other words, that's all it was. Over time, I've started getting very deeply attached to the story that's developing in the project. There's some really good lore, really cool characters and themes popping up, and not just that, but I'm spending like a long time putting effort into this game. And I started thinking, this could be something better. So we are on the way for having a Steam page for the game, a coming soon Steam page that is. Once upon a time I never would have ever thought this game would be on Steam, no way, but it will be. And we're at the stage now where I'm updating all the screenshots so that they look as good as possible when the Steam page is launched. I'll be making a new game trailer probably to go with that launch. And we're at a transition point where we're sort of looking at what we've got. I'm working on a lot of scenes at the moment. We've recently updated the map sprites, which were just the default assets in the beginning, into a taller sprite, which you can see them walking across the screen here. And the tile sets got updated and overhauled. Everything's gone through a little bit of an overhaul, and I've recently decided to drop the visual face sets from the game as well. And for multiple reasons. One, because the plugin I use is made them a bit tricky to pull off, but two, because I feel thinking about it could help more to not have them. And C# says we were learning about ASP.NET core authentication and authorization for websites. Oh, sounds very techy for me, that's for sure. I hope it went well and it was productive, and thank you for the follows as well, everybody. I appreciate it once followed, so appreciate it. Alright, so I was just talking can focus more on map sprites, making them more detailed, more animations, more expressions, talking mouth animation with character speech, something I'm very much considering doing with the map sprites. If we had the faces, these probably would have got neglected a little bit because it's impossible to do everything as one developer, and we probably would have had slightly less animated map sprites for the sake of having the face sets in the game. But this way we can at least make up for the loss of the face sets with some more animated and expressive map sprites. So talking map animation is one thing. I'm really keen on that, especially without face sets, and just to make the character have a bit more life and be a bit more animated. And another thing I was thinking of, okay, now a few games do this sort of thing. This is to do with sounds now, not so much visuals, but have by default in RPG Maker there's like this sound effect that happens when a dialogue box is happening. With every word, every line of text that comes up, there's this like little subtle typing sound effect. I was thinking it'd be pretty cool if we did something similar to what Undertale and Animal Crossing do, where each character has a distinct voice. Because we don't have voice acting in the game for budget reasons, of course, and because it's pretty retro in style, so it very much fits for it to be a text-based RPG. But we could use sound effects to give a sort of distinct voice in a way that Undertale did it, and so did Animal Crossing. And I've done a bit of research, and it's not too difficult to pull off in RPG Maker, so I've seen. So, for example, Carol the Barrel, what sort of voice would she have? An angry one, probably. And so there'd be different tones and pitches. Oliver would have a sweet voice, probably more high-pitched. And then it can kind of make it easier to who's speaking. And although it's pretty obvious anyway, because the dialogue box is above the head of the character that's speaking, it just gives that extra sort of recognition, and for the player as well to immediately recognise who the character is, with things like the voice and the mouth animation and stuff like that. Okay, I think I've said the main things and what I've been saying. I've got a massive list of notes, but I think I've covered most of them. Oops, sorry about the... I'm always knocking my desk. Yeah, there's no functional purpose for them, really. So, okay. Yeah, I think I'm right. But if anyone has any questions about this or thoughts, feel free to shout out at me. But we'll see when we have this. I mean, we can do a test play now of the scene. Could we? It's not 100% done. Scene 1 isn't. Because I've been poorly, so I haven't been able to consistently work on the project the past week. But I have had a mess around. Options of we got the sound off. Thank you for the follows. So let's just have a quick sneak preview again of where we are. Here's our custom here creator. So everything's working fine. There is already a lot of different expressions that could help with talking, though maybe that could be accentuated by those floaty anime style elements like sweat drops or pot vein. Yeah, I mean, we can think about it. I mean, it definitely allows us to really stretch the map sprites as much as possible, whereas, like I said before, realistically I probably would have not been as ambitious with them if we had too many other assets elsewhere, because it's just too much work. But I'm quite excited about really stretching these map animations, and I have had a little test of how the scene works without the face sets. I removed Duncan's face asset and I removed Carol's face asset, and it looks definitely cleaner, the scene does. Like, you don't have like all these faces popping up everywhere, and it just lets you look at what's happening in the actual scene, looking at the map sprites, and really that's what it's for. All the time and effort I'm putting into the scene, that should be what I looked at, really. And I kind of am a fan that the character will have a consistent look as well, because some of the characters look very different from their face sets. And it's going to be a lot easier. Like, when making the NPCs, for example, your character Met, and anyone else that has an NPC, I don't even have to think about the face anymore. It can just be the map. Which, to some people, I could get if you're disappointed, guys, because you might have got excited about having a face. It is exciting having a face, a big visual graphic, something that stands out. But try to think it from my point of view if you can, because it's more assets, more NPC work. Is a lot to do. That'll also help with the timing of these animations, since you won't have to worry about the dialogue and portraits getting out of sync. Yes, so that was one thing I could get rid of. Met that. Remember, we had a little bit of a chat about that a couple of weeks ago, and we had the portraits on the side, and I was like, oh, they're all coming up at the wrong times. Well, I've deleted that face anything else, we don't need it. I do have it on my backup project still, have a backup project saved, but it is a weight off your shoulder, because anything that's asset heavy can be a bit daunting, because then it's like, oh, we gotta think about that, and you know, like I said earlier, a later build, if we want to have commissions done of the playable characters' portraits that can go in the menu, that would be something I'd be up for, because they wouldn't be things that accompany the dialogue, they'd just be menu portraits, and they wouldn't be too much hard work at all. It would have obviously, it's a commission, but it's not, it would just be exclusive to playable characters, so it's not like we'd have to have a portrait for every single NPC if we was to do that. We'll give them, oh yeah, Lady Beard. Just realised she's got boobies. So you can make up the face sets by doing special scenes that face or bust moment for romances, or other special scenes where the costumes would be static and you wouldn't be making a ton of images. Where the costumes would be static and you wouldn't be making a ton of images. What do you mean by static costumes? I'm just trying to make sure we're on the right wavelength then, so I can so my brain can understand what we're chatting about. But I mean, I'm kind of skeptical, should I say, about just suddenly having busts appear if people have got used to the aesthetic of having no busts or face sets in the game. In regards to what you mentioned about the romance scenes, it could be a little jarring. I wouldn't say I'm completely not against it, because I'm definitely one that's partial to changing my mind if I see something work. I've done that plenty of times in the past. I've been like, nah, but then I've been like, actually, that could work. So, but you know, we don't know how it's going to evolve and what could change. And with the direction it could go in. I'll only ever do it if it's going to improve it and make it better and more distinct and unique. not make it worse, because no one wants to make the project worse, of course. And yes, sacrifices sometimes have to be made, and can be subjective if it's worse for the sacrifice. But I think what really did it for me was when I was browsing the forum the other week, and about 20 people all had a face generator avatar on there from the RPG Maker generator, and it made me think, our characters aren't unique, and it kind of just made me feel a little bit sad. And and then I started hating the RPG Maker generator. Like when the player finally gets into the later stages of the romances, or like a special end scene that is important, maybe I'm thinking of those more as cutscenes. Yeah, I mean, who knows? I mean, at minimal, at the very least, we could just make an absolutely astonishing romance scene with the map sprites, and just blow out everybody's socks off with what they could look like. I mean, I'm definitely one to think, I mean, that writing is what matters when it comes to things like romances. You could easily have absolutely gorgeous avatars, but cheesy, atrocious romantic writing, right? And that'd be what would let down the scene in the end, the cheesy writing. So if you can make the writing good and the scene consistently and aesthetically work with that writing, with what the map sprites do, then I'd be happy with that. There's no serious achievements about some homebrew RPG game to a pal of yours was making. I was curious about it. Is it like a tabletop RPG like D&D, except played over and entirely done within text chat? Oh, that sounds interesting. But something that makes the special scenes really stand out. I mean, we can think about it. I mean, who knows what the future holds once the project's at a state where we think, you know, we got loads of scenes here. Let's see how a more advanced cutscene works in between all these. It could be something I experiment with if the assets existed and it wasn't impossible to do and it didn't make it jarring. But it's very hard to kind of visually imagine at this stage in time when we're still so early stage, right? It can be hard to think big before you've even done the small thing. So it's all about starting and then building off that. You don't want to start too big before you've even begun, right? So it can kind of definitely be a relief to completely get rid of a ton of features and fluff and extra stuff and start bare bones and then build off that as time goes on, for sure. How do you make a unique character unique up on it? Is that a pun silent? I wish I could get puns properly. Says Crow. Okay, so that's our possession thing. I want to add it. I want to do the assets for that as well. Indeed, a pun. And I'm like sitting here thinking, I want to get that job. I bet you're ashamed of me defying dreams. I wish I was better at getting jokes. I'd really love that if I was. Right, so because I changed the custom hero I changed the system I'm doing it with. It kind of screwed up with the hero expressions in this scene. So I just need to redo them. And it's going to be fine to do. But originally in this scene, the hero looked super shocked and had a shocked face upon seeing Carol. So that just has to be redone in the scene is all. And I want to do some Carol expressions as well, because she's only got that one face at the moment. And there's a particular moment here in this scene where she needs a shocked face here, just before she hides. Okay, so we're not wearing our clothes at the moment, so that needs to be added as well. Oh yeah, the doors need to be made taller since we made tall sprites. I could have sworn I did that, but I must have not done them tall enough. And there's Nigel. We need to make this inn have things inside it at some point as well. It originally did have things inside it, but we recently redid all the interior design and made the buildings a bit different. It's okay, I'm just stretching my funny bone. Have you guys ever hit your funny bone before? It's the worst when you do that. Okay, so cross that off. Okay. So there's a few things to redo with scene 1, which I'm going to work on off stream. What I wanted to do today, though, is I did want to think about what's ahead in scene 3 and list some animations that we might need for this scene and then work on them today. So I'm going to make a new document actually. Also, that includes this scene as well. Scene. I'll make another list. Carol expressions. Carol Sprite expressions. Where's bullet point gone? There. So panic is 1. As here. It's definitely missing that right now. Maybe angry. Because now we haven't got the face set, we need to make sure that these emotions are getting expressed on the sprite. She didn't have any expression on the sprite before, because that's what I mean, we neglected them for the sake of not needing to bother, because we already had face sets, but now we can go all out on these. So angry, panicking, I think that's good. Now on to scene 3. Right, so I want to look, because this is what's coming up next. As it like says, there's a few things to move over. We've seen one, but this is really what's coming next. I want to think ahead of any ambitious moments that I might have to pull off while doing this scene work. So let's have a look. You leave Lightfall and get stopped by the barrel. So angry again. Running away in fear. Okay. And drawing weapon. Some of it'll just be simple talking, but there's definitely some ambitious things to do. The hero drawing their weapon. So we'll just title this as animations to do. So once we've made the list, we'll get cracking, we'll get started on these. Run away in fear. Sprite is a pretty interesting thing to do with the hero. Now there is a way to do animations for the hero, so it works for dynamically for every single hero combination. It's pretty neat. Pick up a herb and put it in your pocket. Grabs herb, throws it at you. Oh yeah, the Lucky Charm as well pops out the pocket in this scene too. And I did want to add that to the custom hero creator, so... I'm gonna sneeze. Sorry guys, I didn't type to mute. I really tried. I was like, press mute, but I didn't get to it on time. Put your items inside. Do we even have any items on us apart from the herb? We have our weapon. But we don't really have anything on us at this point in time, so I'm not sure if that would have to slightly be rewritten. Yeah, so maybe a smirk one, because we got her smirk in here. Seems like angry is her main emotion, which is nice. Surprise, because Carol. So there might have been some animations I missed in this little sequence. I don't know. I have kind of just skimmed through it, but I think I've got the main ones down. The rest is simply talking, really. But these are like the key animations. Bless you, thank you. At least it wasn't a failed sneeze. Yeah, sometimes that happens, doesn't it? Alright, so what should we start with? So we've got quite a bit to do. It's not as much as I thought though, actually. I was like, oh my goodness, scene 3 is going to be a long scene, but it's a more a dialogue heavy scene, really, which isn't too hard to do. It's mainly the animations that can be time consuming with the scene work. So it's like, where do we start first out of all this? The Lucky Charm thing is somewhere we could start, because that's something that needs to go in the custom hero and anyway. But I think it'd be fun to try out some Carol expressions as well. We can just see where it takes us. Okay. So here's the Carol sheet. Now, Carol's map sprite right now only has one face. Can you believe it? We've gone this whole time with not giving any expressions to this map sprite Carol. Well, now is the time to do it, everyone. Especially now we are gonna knock the face outs, because, you know, just because we're simplifying it, going more minimal, don't mean it has to be boring and plain. That is like not what we're going with. We still want to have life in the characters, and that is an ultimate goal, which is why I'm all for adding like little distinct voice effects and talking mouth animations as well. So okay, so if we're going to do animations, we're going to want to get this in a separate file actually. Oh yeah, Carol talking could be one we do. Let's just copy that. Image crop. Should we try and make Carol talk, everybody? Okay. This could potentially look very silly when we first experiment with this, by the way, everybody. Because I've not done this before. Let's see how it goes. Create frame animation. My mouse is still playing up. I might have to buy a new one, but I was hoping it wasn't my mouse. I was hoping it was a Windows update or driver issue that was causing my mouse to not click properly. But it might be the mouse itself, I'm not sure. But I did have a recent Windows update. But sometimes, basically, what's going on is my left mouse click sometimes doesn't click properly. My hair needs to be washed. Okay, so mouth. Yeah, that looks very strange. Let's give a bit of black. This is going to be a bit nightmare fuelish at first. Might not be too bad actually. But if chat has any thoughts on how to do a good talking mouth for Carol, feel free to share them, or for hearing any hacks or tricks you have. I haven't attempted to ever make a Sprite talk before, so this is going to be it's going to be quite funny. We'll try one where it's not quite that large as well. Where it's just one black line maybe. Hi Rav, how you doing? And hi Nick. How are you folks doing today? Happy Monday. Doing pixel art today. We are experimenting with some animations for the characters so that our scenes can be hella entertaining. That's the goal today, Rav. It's scenes for the next few weeks. And obviously scenes heavily involves animations. So we'll be messing about with that quite a bit. Should we get this on a loop so that we can... Oh my goodness, horrifying. No, Carol. We might need to look at some Google images talking for us some inspiration here, and see the good tricks and approaches when it comes to talking sprites. Well, making a barrel talk could be odd given that the anatomy of it is made up, but generally you want the lower lip moving more than the upper lip because you have the jaw. Yeah, that's very true, Matt. So, no wonder it looks like nightmare fuel. So, I could do with a reference, that's for sure, though, because it can be very difficult for me to do it just without a visual image to go by. So yeah, it's definitely a challenge starting with the barrel as the thing to do the mouth with, but she is the first character that we see, so it only makes sense. Okay, let's start this again. On another layer. So that's the lower part of her moving rather than the up the other way, which we did before. So that's as simple as it goes, really, just moving it one pixel lower and having a bit of mouth, bit of gap there where the mouth hole is, and we can go a bit further perhaps and make it 2 pixels long, that mouth hole, if we want. And I think that's probably the simplest way to do it. And maybe I'm feeling she probably would, as people's mouths widen, naturally their lips get thinner as well, right? The wider the mouth is. So maybe it would make sense to get rid of the lip bit that she has there. And if we want it fancier, maybe the metal band under her mouth could also flex a bit when she talks. Yeah, like sort of move down as well. I guess it's like we'll see how that looks. We can mess about. If it works, we don't know until we try. Also this one now, we might wanna I need to see a visual reference now. So let's think of a character to look at who talks. It's maybe pixel art. I've just googled talking Sprite GIF, but that's Monkey Island. Talking pixel art GIF. Do any of these talk? No, they're not. That one is. Can use this guy as a reference then for Carol. She's so anxious. She is. So yeah, his mouth doesn't open too wide. It's just like a 3 pixels of mouth hole. And you can see his teeth flash for like some of those frames, but not all. So that could be something we do. I mean, we could always do it so the teeth are only there for some of the frames with Carol if we want as well. Okay, so let's just copy. Should we say that for now? So that's what we got right now, but that's very basic. Definitely want to go with a sort of, because this is very simple, but it looks good. So I'm going to try and see what we can do. Add a few more frames to that. So it's not just a simple like mouth talk. So there's a bit more to it. How much talking will she be doing? Like, are you going to try lip sync it to some text with audio? What I'm thinking of doing, rather, which I spoke about a little bit earlier in stream, is have, similar to how games like Undertale and Animal Crossing handle it, as games without voice acting. They have like the character almost have a sound effect as a voice, don't they, as the text appears on the screen. Because by default in RPG Maker, there's a sound effect when the dialogue comes up anyway, by default. But I figured it'd be less generic if we sort of changed that sound effect up between each of the characters, almost to give them their own like sort of distinct speaking voice. And Carol's would be an angry one for sure. She'd have a sort of very more of a harsher sounding voice. Then you don't have to worry too much about the mouth animations. You can make them a bit more subtle. Yeah, exactly. We don't have to go all out where it's like to the exact detail of what they say. But it's nice to do it in a minimal way, but so it still looks decent. A bit like we say, this guy here talking. It's a pretty simple animation, but it looks cool. So I'm going to see how she looks like without some teeth. But again, this sort of thing will take probably a bit of messing about maybe to get the right look. Some experimenting. Even that, like, that's just an extra frame, and I'm not saying it's perfect, but just an extra frame of no teeth kind of makes it feel a bit more realistic than it did when it was just a mouth going like that. So we're getting there a bit. Are you thinking about random mumbling noises that represent talking, but it's actually just some sort of sound? That's exactly it, Define Dreams. I'm trying to think of other game examples, but the best ones I can think of are Animal Crossing and Undertale. And I'm sure there's plenty more as well. But with their characters, they have this little sound effect that sort of talks through their speech, their text dialogue, and each of the characters kind of a different tone and pitch, so that you know who's talking and you immediately you associate that sound effect with that character from that point on. It's like becomes them, and it like really helps them be distinct. And Sam's voice in Undertale was taken from a tiny clip of Patrick's voice from SpongeBob. So for a lot of characters, you could maybe get away with taking a tiny clip of yourself doing a funny voice. Oh, really? That's really cool that it was Patrick from SpongeBob. Can you tell it's him if you listen? Because it's been a while since I've played Undertale. But I do know Sam had a very he had a cute voice, that's for sure. Undertale does it separate for each character, don't they? I suppose there aren't many characters though. And Banjo-Kazooie is also pretty famous for that kind of voice. Yeah, Banjo is another one, Banjo-Kazooie. And yeah, and Animal Crossing has a ton of characters, but what they tended to do was they gave them traits. If anyone here's played that, there was lazy villagers, there was preppy villagers, there was grumpy villagers, and I think each of the traits had its own distinct tone of voice. So that could be a way we could approach it, where we say any that have an angry disposition has this voice, any that have a more sort of playful disposition will have that voice, and we can assign them into categories for what one they have. And there's a video showing the line that it's from. I'll try and find it and link on Discord. Yeah, please do. That'd be great. But just these little small touches, and sound is such an underrated but super important part of the video game medium in storytelling, I think. And I think just not neglecting that and thinking of things like that can even like really just help with the storytelling and the characterization. I think it's from the games I've played that have it does really help, I think. And it's almost very cute and charming too. Or did I miss your response? And yeah, I agreed, was thinking the other day about how the music and sounds are what made the best RPG so amazing, for sure. And it's definitely, it's not so much that it's neglected in a lot of games, because I feel like so many games do a really good job of the sound and music, but a lot of people focus like on art, and art is so important as well, and the visuals of course, but sound can be equally as important, because your ears can really bring on the feelings and emotions too, in my opinion. I did think you asked me anything, lol. Yeah, I think Silent did. It was quite a while above maybe, but it was up. It might have been a while back now. Maybe the raid interrupted it. Okay, so this is what we got with Carol so far. 5-minute job. We did this, and what do you reckon, guys? What do you think needs an alteration from what we have there? Anything jumping up to you that don't seem natural about that talking animation? Because we can work on it. I don't think it might not be perfect, but it's not too bad for a first attempt. We can do what Met said and experiment with the that, though I am a bit I have this sort of concern that it would really stand out, because with pixel art that's quite small, just a slight movement of 1 pixel can make something really change completely. But there's no harm in trying. But there we go. So not too bad. We were inspired by this asset here. I wouldn't have had the idea to get rid of the teeth for a little while if it wasn't for that. It looks like there's a frame where the mouth is a bit narrowed as well. Maybe we should add that as a frame. I don't know though. Maybe it could do with an extra frame somewhere, but I'll have a play around. Like the Final Fantasy series, yeah. Final Fantasy has a great soundtrack, that's for sure. And it's all about, it isn't just about having a wonderful music, but it's about having it in all the right places as well, so that the mood of the scene is correct with the music too. There's so much thought that goes into things like that. When I was looking at it, kind of looked like some kind of text-based tabletop game. Was that just my silly imagination? I'm glad you guys are asking each other questions though. It's good. I like to make friends too. Okay, so that's sort of what we're going for. So that will be in the opening scene too. I want to make an angry Carol sprite as well, so I am going to get a few of her barrel heads here, and we're going to experiment with some different Carol expressions today, so that we can really make her shine in the opening scenes, and we'll see what we can do. For the hero, we have this face for when they are shocked. This is what the hero looks like when they lay eyes on Carol for the first time. I think it's always a good shot face to have big white eyes, and there's this one as well where the pupils are tiny but there's a lot of white around the eye. We could experiment with something like that for Carol and see how that goes. It's gonna be so funny, some of these expressions, very silly. She looks, I can't work out. What expression would you say that is, folks? What about if all the whites of her eyes were filled in? What would that look like then? She'd probably have a wide mouth as well if she's panicking, so... we will make the mouth bigger. Wow, this is nightmare fuel. This is actually nightmare fuel. Okay, so that's the initial face ideas. We can see if we can push it further and get a bit more, go a bit more with this. I apologise about the Carol nightmare fuel though. I'm definitely finding it a bit nightmare fuelish. If we made them a bit bigger, what would that look like? Now that looks a bit weird. Because we haven't got a front view face of this one, but I can just look at the sprite expression sheet we've got to get the front view one, because it's somewhere. And see what they have the mouth like. Just looking for the expression sprite sheet I've got, folks, and trying to find where it's hiding. Can't find it. I'll have to look for that later. This particular frame that we're going to go for, this Carol one that we do now, the panicked Carol, it'll only be there for a split second. Probably like 10 frames, if that. And it's just good. Oh my goodness, scary. It's there for the part when where is it on our dialogue thing? This particular bit here, when Duncan comes over and is like, what's all these rooks over here? Carol will panic and hide, so she'll have that face and then it'll disappear immediately afterwards. It's not, if I stare at that face too long, it starts to freak me out a bit though. Okay. Next one, let's have a look at our list of things to do. Angry panic. Did we do an angry face? I feel like a default face is pretty angry, but we can go more over the top. I'm going to look at some sort of visual references as well of angry faces. But yeah, like we could. I mean, if I had the time and real like determination to pull off angry Carol faces, we could go all out and have ones with steam coming off her and all sorts. A simple one to do is like make the eyebrows angry, but she's already got those by default. But there's definitely some really over the top angry ones we could do. And over time. I see the sprite animations as something we get more ambitious about over time as well as we go through the builds. We could even make her red in the face. Back to Barrel's blush. Let's experiment, see what she looks like, and a little bit on the red side. No, that's green, not red. Yeah, I'd probably do it manually rather than use the selective colour because it looks really weird like that. Probably end up giving Carol a bit of an overhaul eventually as well, and all the Barrel family. Because, you know, it's been a while since we've worked on the Sprite in general. And this is the default Barrel asset as well, so I might want to do a bit of a glow up for Carol at some point. But, you know, it's so what we got here won't be too bad for now. Okay, so what else have we got on our list? Carol is filled with wine or beer. Does that mean she is drunk? Carol's got nothing in her but the human at the start of the game. And what gets put in Carol is entirely up to us. And whatever we've got in our inventory, Carol will have and will hold for us. Whether that's, you know, whatever. Use our imaginations. And barrels will be affected by what's inside them. We thought it'd be pretty charming to, if there is drink or like, you know, plant herbs inside them, they'd get a bit drunk or high. You know, that would be quite amusing for them to be affected by whatever's there in them. Be quite cute, I think. Okay, so we got a basic list there, and I know I've had a little mess around. I'm not even started with how far we can go in regards to these emotions, though. I think I want to be quite ambitious about the Carol Sprite expressions over time. But for now, we'll just dip in everything. We'll look at what the Lucky Charms now, actually, because that is something we need to do. Okay, back to the hero. We'll just use this as an example base. Okay. So in the Custom Hero Creator, you will be asked what possession you hold. And you can have one of 4 things. And each of those 4 things happen to belong to one of Carol's family. So it's either the red ribbon, the pink bra, Alvira's smoking pipe, or Hank's plank of wood. So this asset has to be pretty tiny, because it's got to kind of just poke out the pocket, and it's something that Carol won't hold in her inventory, because she can't know that you've got something that belongs to one of the barrels at this point in the game. But you will see a little flicker of it now and again in relevant scenes when it gets brought up or referred to. So, I mean, we don't even have to go detailed on this at all. I'm going to just make a folder, and we'll call it Lucky Charms. And we'll do red ribbon. It can literally just be a tiny piece of Oliver, so characters. Here's the adorable little Oliver. So the easiest thing to do is probably just copy that, and we got the exact colour and shape of it then. Oh yeah, that's what it is. Just a red line. Flip it 90 degrees. I mean, we don't have to have it from that angle. We could do a diagonal kind of ribbon poking out the pocket. How thick would it be? About that thick, maybe. But it's very simple. Like it really is gonna like just poke out down again and out the pocket. And as long as we can see it, maybe we could do a sound effect, like a sort of to assist it, so that goes with the visual. Hi Sort, how you doing? So good to see you. I hope you're having a fantastic Monday. Oh my goodness. You would nearly leaped number of raindrops. You've just passed it though. I'm alright, just busy. Hope you're doing well. Not too bad, sorta. I'm back after feeling ill. And I'm mostly back to my normal self. Okay, so I don't know if that's standing out enough. I'm thinking we could have some sort of sparkle with it or something. But let's do the others first, or do them all and then we'll decide on anything like that after. So red ribbon, pink bra now. So where's Meryl? Four more until you grow into a storm. Hi Rex, how are you doing, Careless Handsome? I hope you're having a great Monday. How are things? See, this was our shocked face for Meryl. It's pretty Nightmare Fuelish as well, isn't it? This was during the barrel hijacking. So let's copy that. And there's going to be a little side quest later on where you as the hero can wear this and woo Axel and steal Axel from Meryl. Heartbreaking. I mean, it'd be cool to have the whole actual bra asset, but considering we need to have it popping out the pocket, we probably need to cut it a little bit. This one's perfect for popping out a pocket, just like, you know, a few little bit of square pixel. We should probably do something similar with the Meryl bra to that shape, I think. Because we got to make them sort of be the same shape so that they can all, whatever variable you have, whichever item you've got, it all works the same for each scene. No matter what item you've got, so they can't look too different from each other because it's going to be difficult to consistently make work between the scenes. So I'm doing Peachy, yay! The Barrel Squad always cracks me up. Yeah, they're very gonna be the MVPs of this saga, that's for sure. They've gotta be, because they're awesome. Hi Rex, you know I was wanting to ask where the Michael Sanjay chat or variation of that comes from, or is it just nothing in particular? What's Michael Sanjay chat? What's all that about? It's new to me. I thought you were going to make it an eye patch. You never know, someone could use it for that. You could meet like a pirate NPC later on, and someone sees you with the bra and they're like, you know, that'd make the perfect eye patch. And then you have the option to give it them. But that would mean that Meryl doesn't get a bra patch back, and neither does it mean that you'll woo Axel. But they'll get a pink eye patch. And using half a brow as an eye patch only if your eyes pop out, that kind of thing makes your eyes pop out. It's a self-replicating cycle. Okay. And the other one is Alvira's smoking pipe. Okay, how are we going to pull this off? Let's have a look. Here she is, everybody's favourite. Not. So let's cut what we don't need. Can't see because clear background's not very good. I'm gonna have to put a random colour in the background so I can actually see. There we go. Mustard yellow. Beautiful. No, wrong layer, damn it. That's not what I wanted to do. Oh, it's not on, so we can get rid of the smoke. Should we rotate it? Yeah, if that popped out of the pocket, you'd barely see it. So we could always, we got to design it in a way where we clearly see it. So I could imagine us in the scene where we like looking at it, we'd do it from the side instead, and we'd just have our hand grabbing it, because in certain scenes it's kind of hard to see against your clothing, right, depending on what you're wearing. And that's like we make some sparkles go around and put some fancy sound effect to accompany it to draw attention to it. But we're kind of going against the shape being the same, because this is a long stick and these aren't. Yeah, I want this to look more like a ribbon. I'm thinking of full on doing a ribbon now, like a ribbon asset. Let's try again. Let's delete the unnecessary squares. Yeah, I guess it depends how we want it to look. If we want it to be a ribbon that's neatly folded or one that's messy. But by the way, Rose, how are the hands feeling? They've kind of recovered it, you know. It might be just a temporary thing. I mean, I wasn't feeling that great last week anyway. I was a little bit poorly, so. But it seemed okay. We'll see how it goes. Mayhaps needed the good old rest. That might have been it for sure. But I think in general it's still good to be very aware of these things. Making sure that you look after your body. Alright, so yes, I'm not going to think too ambitiously right now about the item itself, because all we want is it to simply poke out the pocket. Let's look at the description of the scene and remind ourselves again what it is in particular. It's in scene 3. It's when Carol sees it. So She throws a herb at you, and your lucky charm pops out from your pocket, and then she sees it. So it just really has to poke out enough for Carol to see it, really. So I think the challenging thing with something like this is that the hero's wearing different colour, would have different clothes on, and the way it would look against, say, this outfit might be different to that one. So it has to look good. Every one of the 4 items needs to look good against every hero, basically. The challenge of variables. But we'll figure it out. I think it's not too bad. I think as long as the scene's directed in a way where there's a sound effect, the hero maybe looks down, or enough attention's put on it, then it's fine. What are the other assets we need for the scene? So we're not really focusing on anything in particular today. We're just kind of looking at everything as a whole, what we need for the scene ahead. The drawing the weapon things, okay, because we've already done that with Duncan with his axe. We've already sort of got the animation in place for that. We worked on that last time. The fear one's fine. We'll just give us a sort of scared or shocked face for that. Yeah, so there's a few there. I think a big one I'm thinking of this scene is, let's go back to the start, is when Carol actually gets your attention as you leave Lakeful. We can experiment with that actually now, perhaps. So, I have saved a game. Let's just open that save game and test it a sec. And have a look at and imagine where this interaction is going to take place. Sound is muted. So I imagined, obviously we'll be clothed by the time that this actually happens, somewhere between somewhere in Blessed Cascade, just as we leave Lightfall and walk across this bridge. In fact, I think the bridge is the perfect place for this, because the running away in fear segment could work great with us running down that bridge, perhaps. The drawing of the weapons, the interesting one though from this angle. Maybe here, now I'm thinking about it. So we'd be walking down here and the scene would trigger. So Carol would be behind us. Let's set that up now. So if we get tiled up, we'll be able to see the coordinates. Okay, so here is our map. So I think here about there. So that is 149.98. Here. So all we need to do is start an event here, and we'll have player touch. We won't think about sounds just yet. I think there's definitely there needs to be some kind of sound effect to sort of go with the fact Carol's behind you, and you'll hear a hopping or something across the bridge, maybe that. But let's just focus on the visual aspect for now. So put that in for now. Move up. No, not move up. Turn up. And Carol will have to appear. This is going to be interesting now how to pull this off. We'll figure it out. Okay, so the asset that we use for Carol, I use the same event. So this is Carol's asset. That's event number 3. So all we'll have to do is move event number 3 to a certain spot on the map, and we'll say about here, but we might have to move it when we test play it. So set event location, Carol. Try that. We'll see how that. This is gonna look very silly. I'm imagining when we test play this, we're gonna just see a barrel appearing into thin air. Let's just see how it works. Do test play. Are all characters represented by events in RPG Maker, at least on the overworld map? Yes, NPCs will all be represented by events. Everything is an event basically, and that's how it all is. Anything can be an event, really. If it's something that moves or something that changes that's not part of the tile set map, that's not part of the environment. So it'll be this asset. This will just randomly appear as we walk across the bridge when we get to the end of the bridge, because I've moved it. I've just set the event location across the bridge. So let's see what happens. I'm expecting it to be a bit weird. We'll build on it. Okay, so we've turned and nothing's appeared. Nothing's appeared probably because it's off the screen. We probably put it a bit too high up. 1, 2, 3, 4. There she is. Without her face. So yeah, we probably put her a bit way too high up. So we'll move her a few bits down, and then that'll be better. So, and we'll have a fatter face appear as well, of course. We can't have a faceless, that would be terrible. So all we can do, what we should do there, maybe should we move her down a square? Maybe that's not enough. There. So to give her a face is we'll make a new event page and we'll call this self switch B, and we will do that. Sprites there now. So that's Carol with no image, and we'll use that whenever Carol's meant to not be on the scene somewhere or invisible. That's when she's not like showing herself, and this is when she's showing herself now. So that's self switch B. So we need to turn self switch B on, which isn't too bad. We can copy that script to do that. And it's map 2, event 3, and self switch B true. So that should work. So let's have a look right now and see if she appears. And the easiest part of the scene will be done then, kind of, but it won't be anywhere close because we want to make it look fancy. But it's at its most simple, we are successful if Carol appears now. Stalker barrel hiding off the screen. Sneaky Carol. Let's see how she looks. Let's see if she looks like Stalker. This is a fun bit though, because we can like sort of direct together how we think the scene should go, really, because we visually get to shape it at this point. Because I mean, we've got the dialogue flows, but they're just a sort of very non-visual description of the scene. But this is where it gets fun. Yeah, let's move her a square back. She kind of just appeared out of thin air, and we should really turn a second after Carol's appeared. We got to get that timing correct. Yeah, definitely a stalker barrel. So we'll move her. Well, at least her face appeared, so that's one good thing. The switch worked. So yeah, we'll move her back one, and we'll turn up a second after she's appeared. That'll be a bit better. And obviously we'll have sound effects and stuff before we actually see Carol appear on the map. We'll hear like sort of hopping, like wood jumping against wood, as if exactly how Carol will sound as she walks, basically, and hops. So that we've got that build up, so that she's not just suddenly there and we're like, whoa, that barrel came out of thin air. And then, I mean, we could turn when we hear the hops, because you would in real life, wouldn't you? If you heard footsteps behind you, you would turn. And don't worry, guys, as I've said before, in this scene, you will be fully clothed. When this scene is properly happening. I just haven't added the event to scene 1 where you put your clothes back on yet. I'm playing this in windowed mode, by the way. That's why you can see the taskbar at the bottom, because I've been messing about with screen resolutions for the game, everybody, so that people can play it on smaller screens too. And because you do have to like consider that not everybody's got a full-sized monitor, like a huge massive screen, but it's set up in a way that the scene will just be cropped if you've got a small screen. And the bigger your screen is, the more you'll see at the map. That's how it is at the moment anyway, and it's working okay. Okay, so let's think. Definitely hops, definitely have hopping sound effects. Then I like the idea of Carol being seen by the player before the hero. So we playing the game, see Carol, and then the hero turns. I'm thinking that right now. Carol should take a step forward and walk towards the hero at this point, and then she can speak. Perhaps we'll try that. With scenes, it's just about building it bit by bit. So I'm going to write a comment here, and I'm going to say, add Carol hopping sound effects before we see her. And that's why I put the wait command, really, because that's the hopping, I suppose, will happen then. Turn up, and then we'll move Carol down. Try three free spaces, see how that looks. Okay, so now what's the first line of this scene? Let's remind ourselves. Pardon me. So you leave Lightfall and get stopped by the barrel, which is what has happened. And obviously there's a variation in what dialogue you can get here, depending on how you acted in the very opening scene. But we'll just let her say one for now. We'll have this one. Just take the top one. I'll add the variables after. So I'm going to just copy a Carol line of dialogue. Take that one. And we can just copy and paste it. So out of all the flashbacks I've met, you are one of the worst. You are vile, simply despicable, have a giant tree each or something. That in. Let's test that now with the dialogue in and with Carol moving down a few steps. Let's see how that looks. I'm excited. The scene is getting built slowly but surely. Hi Con, how are you doing? It's good to see you. I'm struggling to create character story for a game. Do you have suggestions to make games? Have you ever read a book like Art of Game Design? So create character story for a game, and is there something in particular you feel you're struggling with? Do you mean story or characters that you're struggling with, or do you mean game design in particular? Like what area in particular is the one that you're struggling with? That's what I'm curious with, because there's a lot of aspects, isn't there, to game design and building a game, not just one. There's a bunch of different aspects to it all. I'm just starting out. You're just starting then. I'd just say experiment, just mess about in the beginning and see what you come up with. But if you've got any specific questions, I'll be happy to answer. Find some engines and just think for something you might like to make a genre and put it together a bit at a time, no pressure. get some content built and stuff. This is fun. Okay, so she needs to, I want her hop to be a little bit more bigger as well. Let's move her down. And this happens way too quick as well. Before you even realise Carol's there at the moment, she's suddenly walking and speaking, so it needs to sort the pacing out with this scene. But yes, she needs to... I mean, we can move the camera to her so we can see, so she's centred and we can see the text properly, but we can go about that in a few ways. I think we should make a move down 1 square. It's all very messy right now, the scene is, always is at the start, until it looks awesome. Move down. I'm going to just add a really long wait between the walk and when she speaks, because I want to look at the walk and look at what's wrong with it, because it's hard to look at everything when it's all happening at once, so we'll have that. Rav asks, are you making an RPG? To do that, you should have a story first. You made a Maze Ball 3D. And if you're struggling making a character story, that's just an idea you need to up with. Like, why is the character, what is their purpose, what they're doing? Check out NaNoWriMo. Yeah, like if your story is very story driven, as Rav says, that's a really good starting point. It depends, like, because really with your question, I wasn't sure whether you was more asking about the game design side or the story side, because it's two completely different sides of game creation, and it's good to think one at a time, isn't it, like, rather than just everything. Like, we just spent ages thinking about story on streams for weeks, for a time before we even opened RPG Maker. Wow, she's in our face. How brave of you, Carol. Okay, so I'd like to see a face. I don't want the hero's face covering Carol. So maybe she shouldn't walk that close to us. But we don't want the text to be cut off. Okay, there's going to be a lot of testing with this. Carol's hops is something I'm thinking about as well, because since we've changed to taller sprites, I also made Carol's walking sprites have more pixel area around them. So it means we can make her hops a bit larger now, and that might look better too, because I feel like the hops aren't very, especially from a vertical direction when she walks, it kind of doesn't look like she's hopping. So let's this is something we could actually take into a timeline as well and experiment with as well. So in fact I'll do that. I think that'll be a good idea, because we're really at a point that we're making the sprite animations look better as well. And in the next several weeks or more, you might find that I start to get a bit more ambitious about them, just because we are now not having the phase set, so it just means more awesomeness for map sprites. Okay, so create a frame animation. Let's try out a Carol hop. I think right now in game, how many pixels gap is there here? 4. So it's just that right now. So let's just forever. Okay, it's not that fast. We can always have a little shadow underneath her if we want to as well. Let's see what happens if we make the space a bit bigger. I want to look at some, now I'm looking at that, I want to look at some, would her face realistically change as she hops, rather than it be the same expression? That's what I'm thinking too. Maybe when she's in the air like that one, her eyes are a little bit different, maybe closed or something. Just do a really rough one here. This isn't going to be the final, but I just want to see. Because to me it only makes sense that if you are jumping in the air that your expression will change somewhat. So maybe something to that degree, rather than just have the same face. What engine are you working with? I'm not familiar at all with that UI. Hi Dragon Theory Gans, how you doing? Welcome to the stream. This particular engine that I have up here is RPG Maker Dragon, and this is my maps, which you can't actually see because I do my maps in another engine, and I import them into RPG Maker in another way, so you can't actually see them visually within the engine. But I use these little squares here, these numbered squares, to sort of make me know where my maps are. And this is the event editor. Welcome to stream. And Pixel, thank you so much for that follow, Pixel Jake, I appreciate it. I'm doing great. Game looks absolutely beautiful. Thank you, Dragon. That's very nice to say. We're still very much early days. We're looking at a release of our first pre-alpha build in the next couple of months. Once I've moved house and all that's done and dusted, and once it's ready as well to be out. But there's a lot of like changes that we're working on as well. We want to make the goal at the present time is making the character animations awesome, so our scene work can be good. So let's do that. We're working on Carol's bouncing, hopping animation at the moment, because it's not the best at the moment. I think it could do the slight improvement. And maybe because at the moment it's like this. Oh, where is it? No, it's not like that. It's like this. Just plain old boring, basically. But I'm thinking of making the hop a bit bigger and having some facial expression change as she hops. So a sort of blink or closed eye thing. And we'll do that properly now because I just filled them in roughly before. Thank you so much, Dragon, for that follow. I appreciate that as well. How are you doing, Pet Pix? I hope you're all having a good Monday. So yeah, we're working on a bounce animation. Still could do with a bit of work. We also have been working on her talking animation as well, because that's something I'm going to implement that currently isn't in the map sprites talk as well, rather than have closed mouths and be static. So it's slowly getting good. And right now we're working on putting together this scene here. So it's a pretty long scene. This is Draw.io, everybody. I use this to plot my dialogue flows. But I think it might not be too bad to do. I think it won't be as quite as ambitious as scene 1 has been, but we'll see. Because there's a lot of messy bits to work on as well. A lot of bits and pieces to put together. And if I'm going to implement the talking, it's a question of when I'm going to do that. Because I'd like to do it soon, because I think it'll just make the scenes look better. I could always be like, nope, I'll hold off for this playable build, but I think I just want to go all out. Alright, everybody, so what should we do now? Yeah, let's add that to our to-do list then. So we've done Carol. That's not too bad for a first go of talking. And we're going to find a sound effect to accompany that, her dialogue as she speaks. I'm going to look into techniques with how other games have gone about doing that, but I think there's plenty of YouTube tutorial videos on things like that and guides. So my to-do list is here. So I add shocked expressions again with Mink Cow, because I did that, but then now I've got to do them again because I've changed the custom hero plugin that we're using, so it means I've got to do it again. It shouldn't be too bad. Do Carol's talking animation and Duncan's and the heroes. We got 3 characters here to do that. So that's interesting, because we've done Carol, she's a barrel. We should probably try it for a human character now. That set that talking animation. And then we got the sound, well, consider voice sounds, which is there. But we'll deal with the sound effects after. We'll just focus on the visual side for now. And other than that, I don't think there's any more for scene 1. I think that's it. Scene 3, which is what we've just started to do today. Do Carol's hop animation, which we were just in the middle of doing. just want to get those down, you know, because you don't want to forget things like that. Okay, so where's Duncan? Let's get him. Oh, I'm looking in the wrong folder. That's why I can't find Duncan. So we'll just grab this. We'll just have a practice of what we can do. Oops, that's the wrong size for a start. But considering how quick it was for us to do carols, I don't think it's going to be too bad to do this one either for Duncan. So that's one mouth. Let's just try a few different sizes. And we'll see what looks best. So that's that one's 4 pixels of mouth. There's a video guide of someone doing something like this, so but I don't want to copy them exactly with how they've done their mouth. So create frame animation. We'll start that one with the mouth shut. Then we will open it a bit and we'll try the big one. See how that looks, but it might not look perfect. I might have to look at a reference of a human speaking, so we can get the mouth movement how it should look, because it might look a bit. It's not awful for a first guy, but maybe we need a bit of variation in there. So that like took, 2 minutes, right? But we can improve it still if we feel it's a bit. It's not too bad. Let's look at some examples. Let's look for some references and see if we've missed anything that's key. So we haven't given teeth to Duncan. I wonder what he'd look like with teeth. It might look strange, but can always test. In this one. Sometimes a bit of teeth flash doesn't hurt. That's Carol's got teeth, so... This was the image we used as a reference before. I've still got it up here. Where is it hiding? This guy here, we used him as our little guide. And he like has teeth flash for like split like a few frames, and then no teeth. But another thing we could do, but we haven't done, is move his jaw. So that moves when he talks as well, because we actually haven't done that. So that would be simply doing something like that. But we'd have to make sure it didn't look Nightmare Fuel-ish, of course. Because pixel art can easily look like Nightmare Fuel if you... just like a slight change if you're not careful. To me, that's Nightmare Fuel. But you know, it didn't look bad even without moving the jaw. But I wanted to test it, it looked a bit unnatural and Nightmare Fuel, but maybe there's a way to go about it. Showing the teeth can be nice, or the tongue sometimes. Yeah, so that isn't too bad. I mean, I still want to experiment with the jaw, even though it scared me a little bit. That was Nightmare Fuel-ish. I guess it depends on how you move the jaw. I might have done it a bit weirdly. Let's see how it looks from a distance. Yeah, it's a little bit square, that particular attempt is. Maybe there's less pixels that need to be moved than you'd think. Yeah, that doesn't look too bad. Just with it more like a slight subtle chin movement. Like chin movement's still there, like you can see it moving down when he opens his mouth, but it's not as like huge and square and weird and Nightmare Fuel-y. So, you know, that's not too bad for a first guide, something like that. I think I like the slight teeth flash, it just makes it look like a mouth and more real. So I'm going to try doing that animation with the hero as well. So it's on all the custom hero combinations. I'm going to experiment to see if we can get that mouth moving as they speak and see how that works. That's going to be one of my goals for this week. Nanny, you get in there. Pixels can be tricky. I still need to edit that one other animation from earlier with Nigel. Oh yeah, the blanket one. Did you see that Van did Nigel's blanket in the Discord, Matt? So that was nice. But for now, we've kept him static. Like we've got him in. Let's just do a test play and see how Nigel's getting on in his little inn. Just have a peek at him. Right now, he's the inn's pretty empty right now, but he's there, he's sitting there with his blanket. And I'm gonna, you know what, we might animate him as long as we don't get him looking like unnatural. That's really kind of it. If we can pull off something that's subtle, like a subtle nervous shake, then for sure. And I'm sure we can do something like that. I know when I was attempting it last, it looked a bit too intense. His shaking did, and that's because like sometimes with pixel art, just even one pixel of movement can be like whoa. But we'll see. And but the new blanket's pretty nice for sure. And Rex said, wow, that looks so good. It looks like he's speaking. Yeah, let's show him off. And we did that quite fast. Like, it wasn't too bad. It was just a 5-minute job. So sometimes that's the good thing about the map sprites, guys. They're minimal, but it's not too ambitious to get something looking cool. And just subtle things like that can make a difference. And so that's a goal for sure. I think, like, especially now we're not going to have the face sets accompanying dialogue. Like I said, in the near future I'll probably commission playable characters to have a portrait that would go in the menu. I think that would look pretty nice. It's not 100% certain that'll be something we'd do, but it's something I'd consider if the funds were there in the future. But it means more than ever we need to like make the maps sprites absolutely astonishing, and I'd like Carol the Barrel herself to have a glow up as well. You know, we're going to have lots of angry expressions for her on her sprite, and I'm going to work on her hop too because it needs some work. Carol's talking now as well. If you need me to do something else with the blanket, I can. Maybe instead of making him move, have him blinking and sweating. Yeah, that's a good idea too. The only problem with that shake was it was quite intense, wasn't it, when we were testing it? We were like, oh my god, it looks like he's really but blinking's a good one, and like we say, nervous sweats and things like that, we can always have little drips coming down his face. So we'll think of something, gather a bunch of reference images and see what we can pull off. Thank you for that follow, Mr. Rude Name. And hi Doshi Games, how you doing? It's good to see you. How's the game going? Not too bad, Doshi. It's all about animations and scenes at the moment. So it's a fun bit. It's a challenging bit, but a fun bit. Because all those dialogue flows we spent time working on together in the last couple of months, it's all about getting them looking cool, as cool as possible in the engine. Alright guys, oh my goodness, the time. Rude Name, yeah. Mr. Rude Name, indeed. Even I got that one. I'm usually slow at the jokes, but even I know that one. It's the oldest joke, that one, isn't it? Even when I was a kid, I knew that one. I hope you're doing well, Ben. I hope you're having a good day. Okay, guys, shall we pass the love on to someone? Because unfortunately, it is time for me to put an end to the stream. It's a classic LOL, yeah, it is. Yeah, but that is why it's not rude anymore, because it's just childish. It is. It's still rude though. Okay, so right, so I've got a lot to do. So yeah, expect me to be doing a bit of work between now and next stream, but I'm looking forward to showing some more test plays next stream. And I'll be working on the talking animation, folks. So that's priority. Thank you, Divine Dreams. I appreciate the love. I'm surprised at people that tend to turn out to be great chat members. Yeah, like Richard. I remember back in the day when Richard first came in the stream, I was like, oh no, that's a rude name. Is this guy going to be a troll? And he wasn't. He was like awesome. So And so we have high hopes for Mr. Dover. Yeah, we do. We give people a chance. Thank you for the stream. Yeah, thanks for hanging out, guys, and for the love and for coming back on my stream back after being poorly. Awesome to see you all as always, and we'll continue kicking butt and bringing the scenes to life and doing as much justice to them as possible. So let's go on Twitch and see who's on. I'm going to give you Duncan's face to stare at and him talking while I look for someone to raid. If you see a flaw in his talking emote, then now's the time to bring it up, because I'll be copying and pasting that talking on every single custom hero. Well, it's not. Luckily, I don't need to that because it's a layered hero now. Oh no, it's gone off. Oh no, damn it! It pauses him when I open a new window. Damn it. Ralph, thank you so much for that sub. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Have some hype in chat. Should we have a trivia before we head off as well? Thank you for the prime, Rav. I appreciate that. And have tons worse one. Yeah, they're way worse ones. Yeah. And can you put a GIF in? And this seemed childish and acceptable. Yeah. Well, if it wasn't acceptable, yeah, you'd have probably been banned before you could have spike. But that never happened. So you know you've passed. Can you put in a GIF in Discord so I can think about that one? Oh, he's talking. Sure. Yeah, we'll do that. Because whatever we go for with this will be the same talking animations with all the other characters. So we'll kind of use that sort of template with how all the others speak as well. So how should we do this? Can we just save for web? So it'll be easier to do that now because we don't want to forget. GIF save. It was easy enough to do last time, wasn't it? So save. Let's put it in the Discord now. Ideas discussion. Wow, he's small. Let's make him the size that he actually is in game. Because that's, you can't really see him properly like that. So in game we do upscale the graphics to 200%, you see. So that's why he's so small in the Discord there. Duncan talking. Why am I saving it as a PNG? I've lost the plot when I start doing that. Saving a GIF as a PNG. Okay, there we go. Save. Duncan talking GIF. What a palaver. I would like to, yeah, sure. Like if you want to use the show as a base, and then you can, if you want to send it me over as a Sharu, feel free to, and then I can use that as the template. Feel free to have a mess around because, you know, I don't think that was bad for a few minute attempt, but I'm all for seeing different kinds of talking positions and combinations. And maybe we could use a few variety ones. We don't necessarily have to have every character have the same talking one, even though I said so earlier. Over time, we might want to have a bit of diversity and distinctiveness in the way the character's mouth moves. You never know, we might want that. So that's in the Discord now. I'm also gonna throw in carols as well of her talking. I need to upscale that as well. I said I was going to go offline, but I haven't, have I? Because saving files is time consuming. Save. Carol talking. Yeah, and part of me wonders whether I would have ever had the idea to make the characters talk like that if it wasn't for realising that we only are going to have map sprites to work with. I think when you're sort of pushed and tested and you sort of realise what you can do then as well. And sometimes it doesn't stare at you in the face until you're in a sort of position to see it and realise. Okay, so Duncan and Carol talking animations from today's stream. And if you want to send me what you've done in a PM, I'll try it. Yeah, and maybe I can make his mouth dreamy in pixels. Yeah, sure. For sure. I know you can pull it off then. So do you want me to send you the actual PSD file? In PM I can do that. And then you've got the different mouth movements then, haven't you? So, I assume you only want the Duncan one and not the Carol one, because Duncan's the human one. So there we go. It's awesome to see him. Yeah, awesome. I'll send you that after my dinner then, Van. It's simple enough. It shouldn't take too long to do that. It's already saved. But let's put a trivia in chat before we head off. If you want me to try it out on Carol, yeah, I might as well send you it as well if you want. I do appreciate you putting in the wanting to assist me so much, man. It's very kind of you to do that, considering it's never forced upon you folks. Every bit always helps, you know, like when people want to chip in and stuff, because the life of a solo developer can be a challenge. Okay, so trivia. What race are at war with humans? Let's see who's online while you guys answer that, and you can just stare at Carol in the face. Lizards. Yeah, that's a question actually. What is their official race name gonna be? Because we seem like to be calling them multiple things. Reptiles, lizards, dragons even, I've heard. Part of me was thinking, should we have a world building poll stream where we think of really creative names for the reptiles? Like a race name and really sort of set in stone what their race name is going to be. Doesn't necessarily have to be reptile or lizard. We can think of something super unique and like intriguing sounding, as if we want for a race name. The Rextillions, and he really is the leader of them then, if they're named after him, that's for sure. So yeah, I mean, reptiles and lizards could go on the poll as well. I mean, standard would mean that they'd be on there. But it did pop into my mind recently if we did want to go for an actual unique name for them rather than your generic lizards or reptiles. So think about that, guys. Silence already suggested one in chat, but just if you think of any, just feel free to drop them in chat, and they will get put on the poll when the time comes and we give them a proper name. All right, so someone's being noisy. Is this Top Bra's new name? Has he recently changed his Twitch name? We'll send peeps over to 8-bit school dev today. I believe that's Top Bra with a new Twitch name. I'm not sure what he's up to today, but we could have a look. So, did we give Van the point for that? Van to the points 1. Is that the correct way to do it? I don't think it is. I think it's points first and then the Twitch name. There we go. Yay, I did it. Okay, so right. All right, everybody, I'll see you all next time on Wednesday, and I'll of course update you on what I've been working on. There's no doubt I'll be messing about with some stuff today. And we'll carry on with scene 3 if that's what we're still working on at that point. We'll see how it goes. Take care, everybody. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today, and let's make sure that we have an awesome week. Take care, everybody. Appreciate you.